And now, the LSU Football Fix with Preston Guy, presented by TigerBait, starts now.
And welcome in to your LSU Football Fix presented by Celebrity Theaters, guys. We've got another just absolutely jam-packed show. Of course, we're live each and every Monday night at 8 p.m. on the TigerBait Facebook page and YouTube page. Join with me, as always, each and every Monday is publisher at Sports Illustrated's LSU Country, Zack, Nagy. Boy, we got a lot to talk about tonight, don't we, broski?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been one of the wildest kind of 24-hour stretches that I've been a part of since I've been down here. So it's ridiculous. It's crazy. You got to give your kudos to the administration for, pulling the plug and making a play that the LSU fan base has been pushing for. This is a industry, a job where you can't be unlikable and not good at your job and kind of expect to stay in this role. So here we are, an eventful Sunday to Monday stretch. Brian Kelly is now not the head coach of LSU football. So here we go. It's officially hot board season. We got a lot of things to talk about, and I'm excited to kind of dive into it.
Hey, guys, we're going to talk about all of it tonight. We have Brian Kelly's termination. We're going to give some takes, some thoughts on that, the timeline, what happened, all that. Joe Sloan fired today. Tim Rattay will take over play calling. So we're going to talk about the look for the team kind of more briefly. This is going to be very meta picture tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit about the negotiation process with Brian Kelly. Got some insight on how that buyout will be paid. I've heard lots of crazy stuff, and the honest truth is there's probably a little bit of truth to a lot of it. It's just we're waiting to see how it plays out. I will have Brian Driscoll of Irish Breakdown on. As y'all know, maybe infamously, we had what ended up being a debate show about 4 years ago, and I was very aggressively pro Kelly when LSU hired Brian Kelly. I thought it was really going to work out, and he just said, hey guys, I got news for you, and it's not going to work out, and here's why. So we had a long debate. It was a highly viewed show and probably created a giant beef between myself and Irish fans and by association LSU fans and Irish fans. So I hopped on his show last night and worked it out. Thanked the Irish fans for how they've been over the years to me, and we're going to move on. He was correct is what it comes down to. And I'm going to own that it was right. And we're just going to talk it out just kind of briefly tonight. We're not going to linger on that debate too long, but I do think that it's time to give him some flowers for being spot on correct about that 4 years ago. So that's what we're going to do tonight. And then we're going to jump big into, of course, the thing we will talk about every time I hit that go live button for the next 5 weeks. What is it? Is who will be the next head football coach for LSU. Currently, the head football coach is Frank Wilson. University has an interim president. Football team has an interim coach. We're going to dive right into it. Before I get to my first sponsor of the night, we're going to try to knock that one out early. I do want to thank this special super chat who came in well before the show started. As a Notre Dame fan, props to LSU for seeing through Kelly's BS after 4 years. While after 12 years, many Notre Dame fans were still falling for the con job. Preston, props for you for how you chose to handle this. And I'm just going to say the praise and support I've received from Notre Dame fans since I just openly admitted, yeah, I was wrong about that, and Driscoll was right about it, has been overwhelming in a way that's very difficult to describe. I'm not talking about dozens. I'm talking about hundreds, if not thousands of comments like that, just like that. And the fact that you're coming to my show and giving us a super chat and giving me a watch, and the fact that there's probably a ton of Notre Dame fans actively liking and watching the show right now, it means a lot to me. And ultimately, I think it is a reflection of the character of the fan base of Notre Dame. So,
and the hatred for Brian Kelly.
Yeah, we were talking about it on the show. It's kind of like your step bros moment.
Right.
Yeah, screw that. It's like having the same ex-girlfriend, it's a real bonding moment. We're going to get a lot of comments tonight, by the way. I'm going to try to go for as many comments as I can. Obviously, like every other sports talk show in the state of Louisiana tonight, this is going to be jam-packed with way more viewers than we're typically having. So guys, if you got something you want to be put out there, just hit the super chat button, guys. I will get to every super chat. I'm going to stay a little late. Like we did, I think we did last time we had a big show. I stayed late. Zach, of course, has other obligations at 9 p.m. He'll hop out of here, but I will stay a little bit late, almost exclusively to make sure I'm doing your comments. And guys, if you got something you really want out there, drop a super chat, guys. I promise you, if you just keep on dropping super chats, I'll go as late as I need to tonight. I don't care. I mean, hold me till midnight. Don't tempt me with a good time. So let's talk about my first ad break. Of course, guys, y'all know the title sponsor of this show is Celebrity Theaters, guys. They were my first sponsor to come on and take the title spot on this show. And guys, I can't tell you how much I appreciate them for making this show possible, guys. They've got locations in Baton Rouge and Ruston, guys, and they are Louisiana's only locally owned and operated theater with because they are locally owned and operated, there's going to be a few things you're just guaranteed to see every time. A clean facility, better pricing, superior customer service, state-of-the-art technology. Of course, the Baton Rouge location has an invigorating arcade featuring over 50 games. It's the largest in town. Bar featuring wine, beer, frozen drinks, oversized leather reclining seats, and of course the Dolby Atmos 3D sound system. They actually have the largest screen in Baton Rouge, believe it or not. They do have promotions going on, guys, to make it easy to save there. Monday is Senior Savings Day. Tuesday is Bargain Tuesday. Wednesday is College Night and Arcade Night. And then Thursday is Thursday. If you're looking to host a private event, guys, they have absolutely great service. They have great accommodations, take care of your needs, whether it's a kid's birthday party. Man, boy, I had my kid's 3-year-old birthday party yesterday. It was wild. I wish I had called Celebrity instead. Would have been a lot easier to pull off. But guys, birthday party, class group, corporate part, whatever you've got, guys, just shoot them an email, events@celebritytheaters.com, and they'll get you taken care of. They do a real great job. All right, let's what do you say we dive into some comments before we get into our agenda? How's that sound? Well, I'll get to my early birds here. Preston, I thought Brian Kelly would have succeeded, but I was wrong. That being said, I really don't want the powers that be to go after Marcus Freeman. Love the show. That's a Notre Dame fan, which they have just been inundating us. There's Marcus Freeman will not leave Notre Dame unless Ryan Day drops dead.
I just can't believe that he's even involved in all these kind of potential candidate opportunities. I mean, he's not leaving. He went out and was public about not going to Florida, not going to Penn State. Marcus Freeman is legit. This is a guy who fits the mold that you want for a head coach in 2025. He's young, he's savvy, he's talented on the recruiting trail. I mean, this is a guy who's the epitome of what you want in a head coach in 2025. So, yeah, Marcus Freeman isn't going anywhere. This is a guy that you want. Notre Dame's got him locked up, and you kind of got to give him the flowers.
Let's see here. Tony Stangel, props to you for joining Irish Breakdown last night to talk with those guys about Kelly. Take stones to admit when you're wrong about something, and we need more of that in this day and age. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't see any way how I could look my son in the eyes and tell him how to be a man and hold yourself accountable in life without doing that for myself. So I really didn't see any other option. And ultimately, if LSU fans don't like it or respect it, it is what it is, guys. That's how I'm going to handle this. So I don't see any other way to proceed forward other than that. And, it's going to be what it's going to be. But what it's going to be for the next 20 minutes or so, we've got the man, Brian Driscoll. After 4 years, he returns to the channel, triumphant, as many would say, but I don't really get the vibe that you're really looking to dunk on people, right? It's more like you don't feel like you need the reaffirmation. I guess you're more so happy for LSU. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously my view of LSU fans has changed a bit the last 3-4 years based on the mass number of really nasty DMs I got when I came on your show and had some comments to make about LSU. But I know you got some of those from Indy fans too. But, this is what I try to tell people is like, listen, I've always liked LSU. I've always respected LSU. There's always been a bit of a Notre Dame connection with LSU. I mean, there's the 97 season where they played twice. Jerry DiNardo's a Notre Dame, played. It was a great player at Notre Dame, was at LSU. It's a big Catholic league, school or state, I should say. I'm not Catholic, but obviously that's what draws a lot of Notre Dame people to LSU. And they weren't Bama. I mean, it's kind of like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend or something like that, right? So that's how I've always kind of viewed it. And I mean, I used to get credit because I was one of the few people that picked LSU to make the playoffs in 2019. I didn't predict that they were going to be as good as they were, but I just really liked that team when you heard they're going to open up the offense, because you could watch them in 2018 and be like, dude, there's some athletes there. They just are holding them back. And then I come on your show and I well, actually it all started when I went on Crane and Company and made the comments I made there. And they asked me, we were talking about Notre Dame. They asked me my opinion of Brian Kelly. And I said, he's not going to win a championship there. And it had nothing to do with LSU. And everybody got so mad, like, you're just, it's easy to recruit. I'm like, those all things are true, which is why Ed Orgeron won a title there. But I know Brian Kelly. And it's really just about like, it's kind of like, they've been freed, so to speak. It's like that scene in Lord of the Rings, right? Where they go into, where was it? Rohan, right? Or something like that. And then, the king's possessed by a demon and Gandalf comes in there and frees him, like that's LSU right now, And what you're going to find is a lot of Notre Dame fans are going to be cheering for LSU again because they cheered for him before. It was a likable program, right? And I think a lot of Notre Dame fans are also Cubs fans, and there was always sort of this, kind of they see a similar thing there. You talked about the lovable. You talked about the lovable loser type of coaches, right? Like Les Miles and Ed Orgeron. Even when they fail, they're just likable.
Right.
So it's not here to dunk on you or dunk on LSU. It was always about Brian Kelly, man. It was never about LSU. It was never that they can't recruit great players or that they don't have talent or they don't have resources. It was never that. It was he is not going to win there. And I think that became kind of a very apparent early on when you go 10-3 with that offense, you're not the guy.
Yeah. Well, I think we can agree the second year fan base, lets inflammatory statements like that go without a sense of anger, your program is cooked. Like we talked about on your show last night, the minute that anger subsides into apathy, it doesn't matter, right? Whether it's justified or not.
It was getting there in South Bend, dude. Like that's the thing is it was getting there. They were year 12 when he was there, and just everybody was kind of buying into the, well, you can't recruit the same type of athletes that Notre Dame used to. And I mean, people are buying the lies. I'm just glad that LSU's leadership was like, yeah, no, we're not buying that. We're not going to let you I believe lower the standard.
Part of that was, though, is Notre Dame was more gaslightable, given that the last few coaches had struggled.
Sure.
Right. Whereas at LSU, he knew the excuses were going to be a lot shorter because it's like, we just saw Ed Orgeron do this. What's your excuse, Brian? And I think one of the first excuses he turned to was, well, I don't have NIL money. Well, guess what? That was addressed very, very quickly. And now we're seeing a $20 million roster do what basically we're staring at 7-5, 6-6, something like that,
But it was always something, Preston. I mean, that's how it was in Notre Dame. It's like, Notre Dame recruits great running backs like year after year under Tony Alford. And then all of a sudden he hires Autry Denson and they can't recruit running backs anymore. And it's like, well, that's maybe because you told A.J. Dillon at Irish Invasion that he was a linebacker. Maybe that's why, you can't recruit running backs, and then all of a sudden he leaves and all of a sudden they're recruiting running backs again. There's always these excuses for it. I mean, could you imagine A.J. Dillon running behind the 2017 Notre Dame offensive line? I mean, there was always these excuses. And the problem was, and this is something I'm seeing a lot of LSU people talk about, which was Brian Kelly just was completely unwilling to embrace what makes LSU unique. And every program has unique aspects to it, right? Notre Dame has unique aspects to it. What do you mean, LSU?
What makes LSU unique? Yeah. I mean, from your perspective,
I think, first of all, Louisiana. I mean, just in the culture of Louisiana, the culture of the things that people love about the program. It's the uniforms, it's the colors, it's the history, it's the alums. It's the ability to dominate this state in a recruiting standpoint. A coach who gets Louisiana as soon as he gets here is going to literally almost at the beginning do what? He's going to drive around the state or take helicopter, whatever, and meet all the top coaches in the state. and say, look, we're going to put a wall around this state, and all the kids that we want, they're not leaving. It's about, like you look at like A&M, what's the culture of A&M? It's the yells to people and the crazy, man. We got to see that firsthand.
It's a cult.
It is 100%.
I'm not going to stand here for your PC BS.
Well, look, I think that's the thing about Brian Kelly, though, that everybody says, Brian, is that like he didn't embrace the culture. You look at guys in the past like Nick Saban, Orgeron, Les Miles. They embraced the culture. They loved LSU. It just kind of seemed like once Kelly got here, it was kind of I'm going to coast and kind of navigate that CEO type figure and try to work from there. And a lot of the decisions that he made as that quote unquote CEO, they were kind of, self-reflective. It kind of impacted him in a negative way.
It was always about him. I got to mold this place in my image, not adapting to what makes this place unique. And so I think that's like Notre Dame. I mean, there were so many alums that he just alienated during his time there. I mean, this is Notre Dame. Like, do you know the name?
That's the same way down here, too, man.
And you've got Joe Montana, Rocket Ismail, Tim Brown, Jerome Bettis on the sidelines, and then they're gone for a decade. And then all of a sudden he leaves, and guess what? They're all back again. I don't think that's a coincidence. Marcus Freeman, I don't know if he's still doing it, but there was a while there where Marcus Freeman was he would do like these Zoom calls with a bunch of alums about the state of the program. They'd get to ask him questions, talk to him like, hey, this is an issue that we have. What do you think about this? He'd share the latest with his team. That stuff never happened under Brian Kelly. And, I hear things from, players that played for him in 22 and 23, like, I never talked to me. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what we were talking. That's what I was telling you guys about. When I've got a captain for one of Notre Dame's undefeated playoff teams telling me that, look, this guy, we'd see this guy, he'd welcome us back in January, and we wouldn't see him again until spring ball. I got parents of 4-year starters texting me like watching the LSU A&M game saying, are you enjoying this as much as I'm enjoying this? It wasn't about LSU. It was about him. So this isn't like sour grapes from some kid who was a 4-star, never got to play. These are people who were like the best of the best at Notre Dame. He's like, I had never had any relationship with that guy because it was always about him. It was always about me and my glory and looking at me. But I have to tear down, and here's what it really comes down to, guys. I have to tear down the tradition to lower the standard so that when whatever level of success I have, it's about what a great job he's doing. Because you guys heard it. I mean, Preston, this is one of the earlier conversations you and I had. Well, you can't recruit at Notre Dame. It's harder to recruit there. Says who? Like Charlie Weiss recruited 5-stars all the time. His 2009 recruiting class had Zack Martin, Tyler Eifert, Manti Te'o, Theo Riddick. He recruited Harrison Smith, Hall of Famer, Michael Floyd, Golden Tate. He recruited 2 straight 5-star quarterbacks during his tenure. Like, he couldn't coach a lick, but the one thing Charlie Weiss could do is recruit. And his first 2 years had top 5 classes. And then all of a sudden, somehow I'm supposed to believe that it just magically got harder to recruit after Brian Kelly's second year when he signed 3 5-star defensive ends in his first full recruiting class. Nice. He didn't want to do the work anymore. And it became about, let's lower the standard. Let's lower expectations. Let's tamp down what makes Notre Dame unique. Let's make excuses for this, make excuses for that. So then when we win, oh, look how great I am. So then it's because it's a lot easier to go 10-2. Preston, if the standard at LSU was 9-3, 10-2 every year, LSU fans are happy. He's only one game off. Last was one game off, and then this year, it's such a deep SEC league. This is who we are. That's what he did at Notre Dame. And that's what he tried to do at LSU from what I could tell as an outsider. Man, it followed every day. I have my own job and my own program to cover. But that's who it was. It was about, let me tamp down expectations. So when we do win and we go 10-2, look how great Brian Kelly is. And, I'm watching broadcasts and they're like, it's just not one of Brian Kelly's more talented teams. I'm thinking, what? First of all, yeah, it is. And second of all, why would he be saying that? No, this is his last year. Because he was trying to get an extension. So the whole reason he left Notre Dame is he wanted an extension a year after he already got an extension. So like during the COVID year, which by the way, the COVID year was without a doubt Brian Kelly's best coaching job. Like the way that he was able to hold that team together and get them through that year. And that actually was one of his less talented teams, but he wanted another pay raise the next year and they wouldn't give him one. And so then he goes on this PR campaign about, oh, we don't have talent. We don't have this. Well, maybe it's your fault for needing 3 left tackles to get injured before you put Joe Alt on the field was the problem. Maybe the talent was the problem. Maybe you didn't know how to use that talent. And I'm sitting there watching the Wisconsin game and it's Fox broadcast. It's Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. And I listened to Joel Klatt for like 5 minutes talking about how just Notre Dame doesn't have a lot of talent this year and the job that Brian Kelly's doing to win. And I'm like, this is disgusting because you know where they're getting this from. They're getting this from their sit down with Brian Kelly because he's basically saying this is what Brian Kelly has said. And you're like, he's doing this. So he's using his football team in season to negotiate a bigger pay raise. Like, that's who Brian Kelly was. It was always about Brian Kelly. You interviewing with the Philadelphia Eagles before the title game in 2012. Like, it's January. The NFL is not hiring coaches right now anyway. And that's what really turned a lot of Notre Dame fans off. It really was.
And it definitely turned fans off here. And, you know, it's one of those things you said, but until you experience it, it's really hard to actually understand it. It's when you talk about fit and the excuses and, you know, just the way he operates. Yeah, I mean, now it's like, okay, you get it. And I'll say one thing about, you mentioned his recruiting. One thing that I think really stands out about his recruiting, LSU landed a commitment today. The day
I was just about to say that.
The day after Brian Kelly gets fired. So how involved was Brian Kelly in that recruitment? And this is best case scenario for Brian Kelly, by the way. He was just uninvolved, and this kid, it didn't matter to him anyways. He loved LSU and wanted to come, and Frank just pulled the trigger. At worst, there's an argument that the kid hated Brian Kelly, and he's like, all right, been waiting for that. I'm in, you know?
Well, wait, before you even go down the next path, for me, Preston, what you said was spot on. I mean, I don't think until you're living it, you understand kind of the, let's say, negative impacts that Brian Kelly had on the program, whether it's recruiting, hands-off, et cetera, on different things. I think, you know, hindsight's 2020, obviously, but you got to give your flowers and credit to guys like Brian and everybody else who kind of openly said, this is what's going to happen. And a lot of us were a little bit stubborn and we're like, no, it's not. This is a guy who's going to come in here and have all this talent, have this, all that, and he's going to reap the benefits of it. But my goodness, until you kind of see the kind of roof caving in, you have no idea. And I think Texas A&M, the roof was caving in, but I think it finally fell. And that was where you really started to see all the cracks in the foundation over these last couple of years. I mean, it was ridiculous. So for me, I didn't think it was going to kind of go down this way. But when you look at it, I know hindsight's 2020, but damn, it definitely kind of showed its colors.
And look, this is to give you flowers today,
coach,
Brian.
though.
Correct.
I appreciate that. I don't need that. I just like talking ball.
I know you do. And I'm going to tell you, give you flowers for two things. Number one, knowing ball, because you knew what you were talking about and you were spot on. And frankly, I was a little too blind to hear it, and that's okay. You're going to make mistakes in life. But second, your class act that you've been for the last 4 years. I just want to give you praise on both of those real quick. And look, I want to give this a quick super chat here, and like I see there's more super chats, guys. I'm going to get to them once we have Brian out of here, when we can kind of handle them, because they're questions that Brian's just going to be sitting there, you know, like we're talking about LSU coaching search, you know. Preston did a great job on Irish Breakdown last night. Class act. Hope you get a great coach. You and Tiger Nation deserve better. I mean, I've just been overwhelmed with comments like that, and a lot of Notre Dame fans, you could have taken the low road and be like, ha, look at this loser. But of course, there's some of that.
I saw some of those tweets.
Some of that. But again, it's like, I'm not even mad at that, though, because it's like, that's how it should be. I should be getting some pie in my face. That's what I deserve for it. That's just part of it. But the fact that overwhelmingly it's been that angle, that's just incredible. I think it speaks volumes to the character of the Notre Dame fan base.
I like them. I'm a fan of them. But like, you know, what's funny is you're seeing it in your own chat right now. Like, I'm seeing some of the people in the chat that are like defending Brian Kelly and using the same buzzwords we saw. Oh, he stabilized the program. Stabilized the program. He took over 3 years after they won a title and never won fewer than 3 games. It's the same thing that we talked about at Notre Dame. Like, not sucking as bad as Charlie Weiss and Ty Willingham isn't the standard. Not going 6-6 like we saw the last 2 years of Ed Orgeron, including 1 year, which was a COVID year, is not stabilizing the program. It's called not sucking. But that's what he did. It was just this reinforcement of, but you know, it's this, it's that. You went 10-3 with a Heisman Trophy winner and the best receiving corps in the country. And you say, well, the defense sucked. Well, whose fault is that? You know, like it's one of those things where it's always somebody else's fault. Well, we didn't have this. Well, you know, we struggled because our defense wasn't good. Well, why was the defense with Jalen Smith on it not good? Whose fault is that? Who hired that guy? You know, it's like it's wild how so much of this repeated itself. You know, you go back and look at, why was Matt House brought back for a second year? Hey, we asked that same question after 2014 when we're like, why are you bringing Brian Van Gorder back for a second year and then a third? And it took a mutiny from the Notre Dame defensive players after a loss to Duke, where they were up 14-0, to finally make that move. So it just was the same thing, but you're even seeing it here. And this is what was so frustrating as covering Notre Dame for all those years was he would convince people that no, I'm here to save it. And look at this problem and look how hard this is. And we're not spending money. And it's like, hold on, you left Notre Dame and threw shade at Notre Dame saying they didn't have the resources and this. And now you're acting like, well, I don't have the money that Notre Dame had. Well, like pick a lane, dude. Like did you go to LSU because they have all the resources that Notre Dame didn't? Or like what's the issue here? And it's really frustrating to see it because I mean, even now there's Notre Dame fans that'll run cover for Brian Kelly, and it's really frustrating, and it's not fair to the players because what happens is if it's not Brian Kelly's fault, whose fault is it? It's the players. Well, we don't have enough talent on defense. That ain't the problem. You know what I mean? And oh, we don't have enough of this, and we don't have enough of that. And it's like, well, whose fault is that? Whose job is that? Kurt Cignetti could turn around Indiana in 2 years, but Brian Kelly can't turn around LSU in 4. Like, come on, man. It's frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. The excuses were tiring. And, I guess the good part for LSU is at least they weren't tolerating the excuses for as long as Notre Dame tolerated them. That's the good news here.
Yeah.
I want to just touch on real quick. Obviously, what's inevitable is Marcus Freeman's name will come up for this LSU job. I have just very quickly shut that down, but you'd be as good a source of anybody. Are there any possibilities that LSU could put a gigantic offer together for Marcus Freeman and sweep him away?
I highly doubt it. I mean, it'd have to be an offer that would just be – I don't even think it would be an offer. Like, look, this is a guy who turned LSU down to take less money to be the D coordinator at Notre Dame in 2021. And the reason isn't that there isn't a respect for LSU. He absolutely respects LSU. It's why he even considered it, because he obviously had some conversation with Brian Kelly, that if I'm not going to get the job, I need a place to go. Ultimately, I don't think he would have taken that job, but it's more about family. I mean, he's from Ohio. His wife's family's from Ohio. They all still live in Ohio. He's got 6 kids. The grandparents are a few hours away. It really comes down to that. He's a Northern guy. His wife's a Northern guy. He played at Ohio State. He played with the Bears. He's just a Northern guy, and I just think he understands that. And he's at a place, converted to Catholicism, and obviously his faith is very important to him, which would actually fit better at LSU than it would a lot of other places in the SEC. But, it's just one of those things where he's very happy here. He has great support. The NIL that Notre Dame has been able to do, the players they've gone and got out of the portal, obviously the NIL is not hurting their recruiting right now. They're going down south, beating, Georgia for kids and going over the country. I think they've got number 3 or 4 ranked recruiting class in the country right now. What would be the reason to leave? We can't win for a championship there. Well, yeah, they kind of can. I mean, they were in the title game last year. So I think the only reason to leave would be like, hey, I want to be competitive and play against the top SEC teams. Well, look at your schedule the next 5 years. You're going to do that. You're going to play Texas. You're going to play Alabama. You're going to play Arkansas. You're going to, you got Florida coming up in about 6 or 7 years. So I think I see no reason why he would consider it. And everything we've been told by our sources says, like, no, he's very happy at Notre Dame. Now, I don't think that doesn't mean his agent won't do his job to say, hey, listen, these schools are calling. Maybe we might want an extra $1.5 million for the coaches pool. Maybe we might want this.
Yeah, definitely. He'd be dumb not to.
That's his doing his job. But as far as like him leaving, I mean, look, the reality is, guys, Preston, you and I have talked about this. Notre Dame will never get outbid for a guy they want. A year ago, Notre Dame had the highest paid coordinators in college football. This era, and it used to be this way. They used to be really, penny pinchers. That's not the new leadership. And look, if they want him, they're not going to get outbid for him. I mean, this is a school with a $20 billion endowment. You know what I mean?
And it's comfortable to say they want him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they love him. That's why they've worked with him so much on different aspects of the program.
Can you confirm he denied job offers from Penn State and Florida? I think I saw that from Yahoo Sports earlier.
Well, it wasn't so much denied. It was more so, hey, are you interested? And he's like, no, I'm not. That was more so that. It wasn't like he interviewed for it. And, his agent they reached out to his agent. Obviously the agent reaches out to Marcus. Marcus says, no, I'm good. And it's pretty much that, which is what would probably happen to LSU. Because look, if you're LSU, if you're Penn State, if you're Florida, you'd be stupid not to reach out to him. Just like you'd be stupid not to reach out to Nick Saban. Just like you'd be stupid not to reach out to
send the email.
Dan Lanning, Kirby Smart. Like,
Well, do you
make
think
him say no. Because
do you think he'd even entertain it? Do you think he'd kind of take the call, or like you said, kind of just backtrack on it? Not even.
Especially now, would he entertain it? Like if they called the week after the Stanford game where he's got a minute to think about his future. No, but like you're right now in game 7, or you're 5-2, you're going for another playoff spot. I just don't think that would make a lot of sense. That's not really who he is. So no, I don't think it's something he would entertain beyond just thanks but no thanks, and then using that interest to get maybe more out of Notre Dame. But I don't even think he really needs to do that, guys. I mean, they're building a brand new football facility, like entire new building for the football program with just state-of-the-art things. It's going to open up next year. They just built a brand new indoor facility. They've got the indoor facility, 3 other practice fields. The new recruiting facilities in the stadium are top-notch. I mean, the school is willing to spend the money. It wasn't always that way at Notre Dame. They were always like, hey, we're an academic school. We can't spend this kind of money on football. And what the leadership now understands is you win in football, you bring in a lot more money for the other things on campus.
Sure.
And so that's what's you've got much better leadership now on the board, the president, obviously the athletic director, Jack Scorbrick won a lot of those battles, and then his predecessor, Pete Bavacqua, understands that. And so, I mean, that's really why it's not that he doesn't respect LSU. It's not that he doesn't think it's a great program. It's just more so like, hey, I'm at one of the best jobs in college football as well. It's way closer to home. It's more, of a cultural fit for me and my family. And we've got something going on pretty special here. So
is Notre Dame a better job in the NIL era?
You're probably not going to like my answer, Preston, but it depends on for which coach are you talking to. I mean, like, it's not the same job for every person. Yeah. For some people, for Kirby Smart, no, it's not a better job than Georgia.
Then let me pivot real quick. Is it easier to win in the NIL era at Notre Dame?
No, I think it's always harder to win at Notre Dame. There's other factors, because look, at LSU, you can still drive around the state and find a bunch of, top 50 overall recruits. Indiana has maybe 1 or 2 a year, maybe. And then it's a 50-50 shoot if they can even get them into school. This notion that Notre Dame's lowered their academic standards, not true. They've done some things academically to help Marcus Freeman, but it's not about lowering the standards. It's about like process changes, procedural changes, which we can get into if it's something that interests you guys. But it's always harder to win at Notre Dame. You have to go to class. There's just a lot of different things that make it harder. But what Marcus Freeman has done is exactly what Lou Holtz did, which is lean into those things, use those things as, hey, guys, this is why we're going to be tougher. This is why we're going to be better. I don't know if it makes them tougher or better, but the players believe it. Hey, no one's going to class like we are. Not true. There's great students at every school, you know what I mean? But it's the buy-in to, hey, we are different. We are unique. We have to do this. We have to do that. And that's what's going to make us tougher. Where Brian Kelly always used those things as excuses. Well, we can't win because of these. Bob Davie did that. Ty Willingham did that. Lou Holtz never did. He embraced those things. And Coach Freeman has done the same thing. He embraces those things. So is it harder to win? Depends on who you're talking to. It's a bit of a cop-out answer, but just no job is the same for everyone, which was exactly my point about Brian Kelly. Is this a great job? Yes. Is it a great job for him? No. Is this a great coach for you? No. And that was always.
Well, let me ask this, and I was going to close out on this question anyway, but this is directly tangential to what you mentioned. Is Brian Kelly a good coach, but for a program that maybe doesn't expect to win championships?
Yeah. I mean,
he does some things well, right? Like, and it's, I think a bit of why we were so, mistaken on Brian Kelly. He's a little bit of an enigma. It's hard to understand because he does things well. I'd say he's a better coach than Ed Ogeron. However, it's just something about him. And if you can put into words to me what it might be about him, that just, it puts a ceiling on your program. It sucks life out of your fan base and team. And it limits you in your opportunities to win colossal big games.
Well, I know what it is, and you would have learned it in the next couple of years as well, the more you got to know him, is a lot of the things you need about a head football coach, Brian Kelly has, and he's very good at organization, structural things. Here's how we go about practice, the CEO aspects of being a football coach. Where he struggles, and I think if you want to, if him and Ed Orgeron are just polar opposites, where there was a little bit of chaos with Coach O, and there's just always kind of, he just had that flair. But you know what? The one thing he did, maybe they didn't always have the best game plans. Maybe they didn't always have this. But he was always going to recruit his tail off, and the kids would run through a wall for him, right? They loved playing for him. And with Brian Kelly, the constant theme I would hear from coaches and players and captains was there's just no energy, right? The way that we go about business every day, and especially during big games, it was always so tight that as soon as something bad happened, it was like, oh, shoot, like coach is going to be pissed. And then it would just snowball. And that's the thing. It's the relational thing. It's it's the ability to get your players to believe that I give a crap about you. That I have your back off the field and on the field, that, let's do this together. I'm always going to have your back. I mean, there's times Marcus Freeman will go into a press conference and he's pissed at the player that made the mistake, that he'll just be like, you know what? We did a terrible job getting those guys ready to play. We didn't prepare for this. We didn't prepare for that. Not like, Garrett Nussmeier's got to play better. Insult. Oh, and obviously it all is all on me because I'm the head football coach. You're like, you don't really believe that, and it's stuff like that. But the players see that stuff. They know that, hey, this guy doesn't have my back. This guy doesn't know how to push the buttons, because football is still it's an intellectual sport. It's a physical sport, but it's also an emotional sport. And I mean, just go back and watch Marcus Freeman before the Texas A&M game last year, down in College Station, and you're like, that's a huge difference between what we've seen before, where it's just kind of like business. Hey, it's just another faceless opponent. Like, no, bro, this is College Station. This isn't some nameless faceless opponent. This is a team you better be ready for. And I think those are the things, the relational aspects that include motivation and just toughness and finishing and mental toughness that comes from that. Those were always lacking at Notre Dame. And as much as the players would try, and as certain assistant coaches would try, because he certainly had some good coaches at different times. You had Harry Easton, Mike Denbrock, Clark Lee, Mike Elko, Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
But
that was another thing that gave me hope, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine, like, just the number of players are like, yeah, I didn't really know the guy that well. I mean, I played for him for 2 years and I don't know the guy very well. We heard that constantly at Notre Dame. And if you don't think a coach is invested in you as a young person, if you don't think that guy has your back, your willingness to really dig deep in the fourth quarter of a football game against Alabama or Texas A&M to respond to adversity is just not going to be there. And that's why Notre Dame always beat the teams they were supposed to beat. I think his last 3 years, 27-0 against unranked opponents his last 3 years.
Not at
5-5 against ranked teams.
Well, somehow I feel both those metrics were worse at LSU somehow. And by the way, we addressed that on your show.
Because the unranked teams in the Southeastern Conference, I'll have no problem saying this, the unranked teams in the SEC are better than the unranked teams he's playing in the ACC. Let's just be honest about that.
It's a good point. Brian, I appreciate you so much for popping on and being a class act, man. I appreciate you, sitting down talking with me on your show and my show here. Y'all go give him a follow, Irish Breakdown. Go check him out on Twitter. Is there any plugs you want to put in before you hop out of here?
No, check us out at Irish Breakdown. And if you're going to act like I didn't like Brian Kelly, I loved Brian Kelly till he left, and you clearly have never listened to my show. So give our show a listen. Irish Breakdown podcast, YouTube, irishbreakdown.com is our website. So check them all out, and it'll help you say things that are actually factual instead of your emotional feelings.
Brian, thank you for joining the show. I'm looking forward to having a continued dialogue with you. Appreciate you.
Yep. Appreciate you, Brian.
Go Tigers.
Crap. I cut off the Go Tigers. Well, hold up. Let's get it.
I did my Ed Orgeron. Go Tigers.
Do it.
I love that. Go Tigers. I do that on my show all the time. I love it.
Go Tigers.
See you guys.
There it is. Thank you. That was Brian Driscoll of Irish Breakdown. We're going to make a big transition here into talking about the coaching search. I'm going to dive right into that. And if that goes on a tangent, it goes on a tangent. I have the Vegas board of most likely coaching candidates. I was surprised on it. I think a little bit of it is just playing to people what they think we'll throw money on. Let's get to some super chats real quick though before I dive into that. And of course, I do have to do an ad break. We're 41 minutes into the show. I gotta talk to my sponsors real quick. Matthew Vincent with a $9.99 super chat. I will try my best to find your comment. Matthew Vincent, if you're still watching, put your comment up there, and I'm going to try to find it. Unfortunately, there's just hundreds of comments tonight. It will be difficult to find that, but thank you for your super chat nonetheless. Who dat Tigers? I'm thinking Eli Drinkwitz or Jeff Brom are the guys that should come in quickly and kill it. Go Tigers. We will absolutely talk. I love both those names.
I like Jeff Brom, man. I like Jeff Brom.
Jeff Brom in big games, man. He is so good. You do not want to see Jeff Brom on a Wednesday night or Friday night in the ACC. You know, he's a killer in these big games, and I love that. And by the way, these are both guys reasonably attainable, right? I think, and from what I've talking with people, I don't think LSU is looking to get into one of these $80 million guaranteed contracts again. I think they want a guy who wants to be here for the head coaching job at LSU, not because you got some mega contract.
I don't want to jump the gun, but after get to the ad break, let me keep this thought in my head.
Get to it because I'm going through more super chats before.
So would that mean that kind of you're out on the Lane Kiffin train then if you don't want these big $80 million plus kind of guaranteed deals? Because we know Jimmy Sexton, his agent, he's going to demand some big time money, some big time buyouts, etc. He's done it before. He'll do it again. Yeah. Would that kind of rule you out on kind of the Lane train?
I'm not done on Lane Kiffin yet. I do think what it's going to have to involve is a high salary, but maybe not necessarily. Maybe it's 50% guaranteed or something like that. Maybe you pay him $13.5 million and 6.5 of it is guaranteed, something like that. That'd be un-Sexton-like, but again.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
This is, I think Lane Kiffin has a ton of admiration for this LSU job. Like, I think he has a lot of respect for it. And I think if all things were equal, he would come to LSU. And I think that he is making moves right now to keep the door open. I'm not passing up on Lane Kiffin, but again, yes, because of what I'm hearing, particularly what I'm hearing about whispers from the governor's office, who basically is in charge of this, by the way. Make no mistake, the governor of Louisiana will basically be picking out your new football coach. It's a very abbreviated way to say it, but just know, Jeff Landry is controlling this process. And I think Jeff Landry wants to make sure there's no such crazy buyout. But they're not going to get cheap on a coach either. I think they're just worried about the buyout and the length of the contract. Like, they don't want a 10-year. Maybe they're like, okay, we're not going to give you, 10 years, $135 million with $120 guaranteed, but we'll give you 7 years, at that same 13.5 and 60% guaranteed, when that buyout from the beginning is like $60 million instead of, 80, 90 or whatever. Count the money. Freeman is Catholic. I'm sold. Let's get him. Like, he ain't coming. Thank you for the super chat. Dane Bergeron. Hey, Preston and Zack. Late to the show. I have been busy negotiating Blake's contract to be the AD. You want Blake Baker as the AD? That's a strange one. I've heard Austin Thomas floated out there, but not Blake Baker yet. Thank you for the super chat, Dane Bergeron. All right, let's get to a quick ad break. I do have actually a little bit of excitement. If you're one of those guys that likes to skip over, at least listen to this first one. I have a new sponsor tonight. Guys, Matt Bowers, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Guys, when you're looking for your next vehicle, make sure you support a local dealership that supports the Tigers. Matt Bowers, Chrysler, Dodge, Job, Ram on Airline Highway near Barringer Foreman in Baton Rouge has an awesome NIL deal with LSU tight end Trades Green. You simply cannot beat their quality service that they provide in their lifetime powertrain warranty on all new vehicles. Shop them online today at mattbowerscdjr.com, and I'm going to throw it up to Trades Green.
What's up, Tiger Nation? It's Trades Green. Go see my friend Matt Bowers when you need your next ride.
Get Matt's lifetime powertrain warranty included with every new vehicle purchase.
Shop smart. Buy local. Matt Bowers, CDJR, Baton Rouge.
Dude, I have been waiting so long to get an NIL deal on this show. I don't know why it took so long. It just did, but we finally got one, and I'm happy. And I'm hoping I'll get Trades on here sometime to talk about this sponsorship and talk about the Tigers. Probably not a great way. I'm sure players are just completely off limits this week. Let's talk a
And
little
it's an
bit.
open date, so taking a little bit of time to themselves.
Right. Well, they probably need a little bit of open time to themselves, but I'm sure if an LSU player were taking interviews right now, LSU's SID would have a conniption, man. Like, what are you going to ask him? So your coach got fired.
Exactly.
You hate that guy or what? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, there's just no winning. Capital City Grills, guys. One thing we try to do with all of our sponsorships is partner with locally owned businesses we've experienced firsthand, and we know we can endorse to provide an outstanding experience for our listeners. This football season, we're proud to add Capital City Grill to that lineup. Located at 100 Lafayette Street in downtown Baton Rouge, Capital City Grill is your ideal lunch and dinner stop for your casual dining experience. Capital City Grill features a variety of sandwiches, burgers, seafood, pasta, steaks, with almost everything priced at $30 or below for an affordable experience. Don't forget to celebrate Tigers win at their Sunday morning brunch, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Book your reservation online at capitalcitygrill.net. And guys, not too many home games left for Tiger Stadium. Make sure you stay in style. Make sure you shop with our friends at Alumni Hall. Guys, they've got all the best LSU gear. They've got it. Nike, Champion, Johnny O, Honor Reserve, Peter Millar, Southern Tide, Yetis, gifts, accessories. Shop it all in their store at Perkins Row or online at alumnihall.com. Don't forget to use our discount code TigerBait, all one word, TigerBait, for 10% off your order. That's in store or online. And guys, I don't know about y'all, I might skip the steak, go to Struby's and just get me a double tall bourbon after everything we've been through here in the last 72 hours. But all TigerBait shows are proudly brought to you by Struby's Seafood and Steak, located at 107 3rd Street in downtown Baton Rouge. Struby's prides itself on providing a 5-star dining experience for a reasonable price. Struby's is locally owned with ownership in the building daily, taking a level of pride in its food and service you just won't see from any corporate establishment. Struby's features a full menu of specialty meats, including USDA Prime Angus steaks, 100% Wagyu New York strip. And for those looking for something outside of red meat, they offer items such as the dry-aged pork chop, back truffle, lobster, pasta, redfish, and plenty more. Book your reservation online tonight at strubys.com. Make sure to let them know TigerBait sent you in. All right, Zach, I know you've kind of had to take a back seat in this show. I want to open up first to you, give you the floor right now. Who is your number one guy you would be pursuing if you were in charge of hiring the next LSU football coach?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many variables that come into that, right? I mean, I think Lane Kiffin is obviously kind of that big splash hire that you'd want to go after if you were kind of going in that direction. He's a guy who's built a program from scratch up there in Oxford. He's doing some special things with that program, on the verge of a college football playoff berth, dominates the portal with the resources that he has. I mean, it's hard to imagine what he could do with this program if he had, the same resources. So for me, obviously the splash hire is Lane, but if you're looking to try to find a guy who's relatively up and coming, a guy who's strategic, it's Jeff Brom. So for me, I'm a big fan of what Jeff Brom could provide. To me, he kind of resembles Mike Elko when it comes to him during that recruiting cycle, 2-ish years ago. So for me, head coaching cycle, roughly 2 years ago. So, for me, Preston, I think Jeff Brom's a guy that I'd like to see them take a really close look into, doing some really nice things with Louisville. And it reminds me a lot of Mike Elko in a way. I'm going to double down on that. So obviously some time. They got to get a university president and try to do all these different things until they can really lock in on this coaching search. But yeah, Lane Kiffin's obviously the splash hire. Jeff Brom is the one that's going to maybe start to generate some buzz in the next couple of weeks potentially. John Summerall is an intriguing option. I don't think he's going to be the kind of pick, but you make that call certainly. So a lot of candidates, a lot of money that's being put into this. But the two that I'm kind of circling back and looking on are obviously Lane Kiffin, the casual take, and then Jeff Brom from Louisville is one that I'm really looking into especially.
So you would like Jeff Brom over Eli Drinkwitz?
I think so, just in the sense that Drinkwitz is – we talk a lot about culture, right? Is he a culture fit here in Baton Rouge? And for me, I don't know enough about him to make that pick. This is a guy that's definitely building something special. So I don't want to contradict myself when I talk about Kiffin and his ability to build – a culture and build different things at different programs. We're seeing what Drinkwitz can do in Columbia. So maybe he could be a good fit here in Baton Rouge. But, that's a guy that's going to be on the board intrigued to see how much they really do pursue that and see how much he really listens to it as well.
Zach, there's been a lot of conversation about negotiating Brian Kelly's buyout. You typically don't see that. Typically when a coach gets fired, it's like, all right, here's what your contract says. We got to cough it up, but there's been a lot of things brought up. Number one is the mitigating clause, which means if you accept another job, your salary that you're making at the new job deducts from what LSU owes you or whoever fires you owes you. The problem is with that, most of these coaches are pulling an Ed Ogeron or Jimbo Fisher. They're getting fired and they just start casually looking for jobs. It's very difficult to prove malice on that. And we all know they're just sitting home milking it. I mean, Les Miles didn't accept a job. And then when he finally got the Kansas job, 3 years later, he went and negotiated the rest of his buyout with LSU. He said, I'll settle for less. And it's like, well, no crap, but they shouldn't have settled with him because he would have just taken the Kansas job, made $4 million, and then basically LSU would have owed him nothing. So that's what they should have done. But of course, he played his card well, if y'all don't settle, I won't accept this job. It's fine. That being said, what do you make? We're hearing that. We're hearing the mitigating clause. We're hearing maybe the morality stuff come in. I've heard numbers floated out that maybe LSU's trying to pay him $20 million, not 53. I mean, do you think there's any way LSU won't be on the hook for the 53.3?
It's a hot topic for good reason. I mean, obviously Brian Kelly is crushing headlines right now, but that's a hot topic here, trying to figure out and negotiate that buyout. For now, while they continue to kind of finalize things, he's going to be making his, average monthly salary of about $785,000 a month roughly. So until they finalize kind of that structure on the buyout, he's going to be making that, and it could take some time to finalize. But man, if you could try to find different ins and outs to kind of shut down the full 53 million, 54 million, my goodness, I mean, you're going to be in a good spot. You have a bunch of different reports kind of conflicting each other. You have some people saying there's no kind of deal in place. You have others saying that there is. There was one from Fox 8 Sports earlier today where it said that there's going to be one donor that's going to be paying the lion's share of this buyout, and it's just one person. Do we know what that figure is? No, I don't know that. But you have somebody who's kind of coming in there and doing it privately and privately funding this buyout. So it's an extremely interesting conversation, one that is out of my wheelhouse for right now for sure, but definitely interesting to see kind of which path it goes down because, man, if you could cut that buyout down to, 40, 50%, you're going to be in a pretty good spot from a financial perspective. So I'm intrigued to see how that plays out, but nonetheless, you kind of got through phase one, and that's getting BK out of the building and kind of pressing that reset button to a certain degree. And now you just got to kind of figure out all the extracurriculars that come with it, and that includes that buyout.
Oh, wait. Fletcher Mackel in New Orleans, TV reporter down there, is reporting that
it's WDSU. WDSU, not Fox 8. Let me correct that, I think.
No, you have that right. Yeah.
It was WDSU. Fox 8? Okay.
Did you say Fox 8?
I did.
Okay, no. WDSU is right.
Yeah,
no,
it is WDSU.
Anyways, he reported that one donor will be covering most of the buyout. Now, whether that's the $20 million they might think they
right. That could vary so many different things, right?
It could vary a lot. And I frankly don't I don't know. I don't know why you would settle if you're Brian Kelly, but maybe it depends on what's in the morality stuff. I've heard rumors. I'm not going to put on this platform publicize, rumors that are just so unconfirmed as what I've heard. But, it just depends on what's there. But for the time being, it does seem that LSU, I mean, you hope they have the financials aligned, but this is not an organized situation that the Tigers find themselves in. Not at all. Let's talk about these coaches now. Now, your favorites that you just mentioned, if we're going to go bold higher, would be Lane Kiffin. You're putting him in that bold counter. And you think the realistic option would be UL's coach, Jeff Brom, right? UL coach Jeff Brom.
I like Jeff Brom, man. I think he's a really good up-and-coming guy. I know he's 54 years old, so it's not like he's this fresh guy on the scene per se, but he's been around the block. He succeeded at different stops, and I'm going to keep utilizing this same kind of analogy to where he went to one stop as the head coach here, kind of pivoting that succeeding in this one stop in a big way at Louisville. And now you could go to a bigger, better job like LSU, the best available option right now, and succeed. It gives me a lot of similarities to Mike Elko when he was that head coach at Duke and then kind of moved on to A&M and really succeeded there. So I like that for sure. I think Lane Kiffin is the splash hire that everybody wants to hear about. And I mean, my goodness, who wouldn't be happy with Lane Kiffin, me included? But when you look at maybe a realistic option, I think Jeff Brom's a guy that a lot of people should be considering for sure, kind of when you're making that decision.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely think he's a good coach. And if he's negotiable and you don't have to put yourself in some crazy situation to get him, I would not be mad.
And that's the important part, by the way, Preston. That's spot on, is where I'm not going to say you want to go get the affordable option per se because it's LSU. You don't ever take the cheap route. This is one of the most prominent brands in the world. So you don't want to take the cheap route at all. So when I talk about realistic, I don't want to say Lane Kiffin is unrealistic. I'd like to sit back and say, if you want to make that financial investment, go on ahead. This is LSU we're talking about, damn it. But when you talk about things where from a financial perspective, maybe Jeff Brom's the route to go. So there's so many different factors that go into this thing, man. I'm so excited to watch it transpire.
Who Dat Tiger says, where do I get the branded built to do? Those hats look sweet, man. First off, I haven't even gotten one yet, which I am very much so complaining to my employer frequently because I really do want one. He's like, dude, you don't even wear hats. So I was like, well, I would wear a TigerBait hat. First off, I wear hats to practice. When I go to practice, I would 100% wear a TigerBait hat to practice. I don't know that we have them available to the public yet, but I'm sure Mike would discuss. Let me figure out how I could get those out to the public. I don't know is the answer. He ordered a box of them basically for himself and a few people, his friends, but gosh, they do look good, man. All right, Zach, I know your time is running short. I'm going to stick around for probably next 30 minutes or so because I think the people want content right now, and I'm going to give it to them. Okay, we get free football tonight, baby. Vegas released it's Bet Online AG released their top football coach odds. Okay, number one on their board.
Yep.
Tulane coach John Sumrall. Did that catch you off guard?
I wouldn't say caught me off guard for him to be in, let's say, the top three, but number one, yeah, that definitely was a little surprising.
Yeah,
number two was probably a little bit more surprising to me.
Up there, I would have thought Lane Kiffin would be right there at the top because I think all eyes are on Lane Kiffin.
Right.
And I think LSU's the number one job on the market right now. I think LSU is, I'm not going to insult the Ole Miss job, not one bit, but I'm going to say I think LSU is one step up as a job. I mean, Ole Miss is a very good job, right? LSU is in that top 5 elite echelon. So that one caught me, but again, not a guy I'd be mad at, particularly he would probably be very affordable and reasonable and a guy who really wants the job.
Well, on that affordable note, before we even kind of pivot, do you think this is one where you not necessarily go the cheap route, but do you go the affordable route? Or do you think that this program is going to be going for that splash hire and going for that big time move here like they did, a couple years ago with Brian Kelly? Is this one where you go, okay, we want up and coming. We want somebody who can, we can get at a decent price, but also try to be a program builder instead of somebody who has an established name, an established brand, and you can get for kind of a decent penny. What would be your kind of thoughts on moving forward with that perspective?
Look, man, you're not going to go out there and get a bum. Okay. This coach,
it's LSU for crying out loud.
A lot of money, a lot of money. This coach will make more than $10 million. Okay. And I think
if you go out and get somebody like Jeff Brom, you pay them more than $10 million.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But here's the thing though. It's length and guarantee that I think that they're not looking for. So I and by the way, I have that on really good word that they don't want the guarantee and length. They don't want this just high risky, crazy financial predicament contract. I have that from really good sources saying they want to avoid that. Now, obviously, if a guy like Nick Saban answers the phone for some reason, those
you give him 20 mil and let's call it a day.
Yeah, like there's no amount of money that you can offer because Nick Saban is the kind of guy you bring in, and he's not answering the call. Let me just go ahead and but I'm just using this as an example of like how this changes. You hire him and you're going to win multiple championships, or at least one before he retires. And it's going to be like the kind of energy. It's going to be like economy building for Louisiana to have a guy like that. So Dan Lanning might find himself a little bit in that category. And then a bunch of guys who are just really set in stone would obviously like that are not coming. Ryan Day, Kirby Smart. You get what I'm saying? But for guys like that, Drinkwitz or Joe Bray, you get what I'm saying? Like they would not be. Okay, Zach, I think you have to pop out now. Is that right? Okay.
I'm going to head out. I'm going to have it on the background. I'm going to be trying to listen a little bit, but appreciate you for having me on, of course. I always love doing our Monday shows, and it's going to be fun, guys. We got a fun next couple of weeks tune in, rather. It's going to be exciting. This coaching search is going to be a good one.
Oh, absolutely. Zach, appreciate you, man. I'll definitely see you next week. Bye week. Y'all enjoy it. All right. Later, man. I'm going to go down the list of Vegas favorites and just give you some of my thoughts. Let's get to a couple comments, though, maybe first. Stephen Miller, do you think big money boosters will go for paying a Tulane coach to come here? I mean, you wouldn't have to be super big money, but he's won a lot of games, man. John Sumrall is a good coach. And, part of the argument for this job here is, you just hired a guy who was at a big name program like Notre Dame who hadn't quite won at that level yet. So your options are either going to be hire a guy at a big name program who had won like that, or hire a guy at a smaller program who's won well, and you think that legitimately your program can give you the resources to get to that next level. But it is a great question nonetheless. Let's see here. Irish fan 26. What are your top 5 coaching jobs in college football? In no order. Georgia, Ohio State, LSU, because of recruiting geography, right? Texas, I'm going to throw in there because of a combination of the recruiting geography, which isn't as great as the first 3 because it's very spread thin. Very, very, very spread thin because you got Texas A&M, you've got Texas Tech, who's now an NIL monster. You've got, just all these in-state schools. Also, SMU is now doing its thing, trying to get that piece of that Texas talent pie, right? But I'm still going to throw Texas in there because of their NIL monies, history, branding, alumni base, all that jazz. And that 5th spot's tricky. I'm trying to think. I disagree with Driscoll. I think the NIL resources at Notre Dame have made it an easier place to win and a better job since 2021. I think if it's not there, it's going to be close. Alabama with their history, although I'm curious how it could be in limbo. We'll see. Let's see here, man. Trying to see if I'm forgetting anybody here. There's probably someone really obvious I'm forgetting, but those are the schools on my short list. I mean, shortly thereafterward, there's a bunch. I mean, Florida's going to be up there. Penn State's going to be up there. Texas A&M is up there, believe it or not, now with all the resources that they have. Florida State, which may or may not be opening. But I would say those schools I mentioned before, that the LSU, Notre Dame, Ohio State. I'm sorry. LSU, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Bama, Texas, Georgia. All those are going to be the top tier echelon jobs right now. But let me more succinctly answer that. What really matters is not some middle-aged podcaster on TigerBait.com. My opinion of that doesn't really matter, right? It really ultimately is up to the opinion of elite college football coaches. It's like, who's the real DBU? Well, we can talk about it all we want and use facts and numbers and data. It really just matters to the 16-year-old kid deciding where he wants to go to school. Torque Lewis, can you give me some AD candidates? First off, it's not 100% set in stone that Woodward will be getting fired, although I've heard from some whispers that that's likely to happen early November, maybe November 6th, something like that. But my guess would be either AD at McNeese, who's done a great job, or possibly Austin Thomas, which would be an unprecedented move to see. First off, the GM position hasn't existed for that long, but to see a GM pushed into an AD role, that's just unheard of in college athletics. Let's see here. All right. Let's get to a couple names on this list. And I'm not going to make it through the full list before my ad break, but I will get to some good names. Number 1, I told y'all John Sumrall, gave you my thoughts. Joe Brady, number 2. And that one shocked me. I think that one's more of a bait odds. It's 2-1 odds there. He's, of course, the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. He's been flirted around with the NFL head coaching jobs. I wouldn't mind the hire because there's always two aspects when we talk about would they take it and what would they be good. I think Joe Brady could be very good at LSU. I want a tactician. And I said that 5 years ago. I thought you got a bit of a tactician with Brian Kelly. I was woefully disappointed in his ability to help call plays and do scheme. Joe Brady's not a guy I would mind at all, but only if he wanted the job. I don't want to bring in Joe Brady because he got some $80 million guarantee. That just shows he was doing it for the money. If you take this job, it's because you want to be the head coach at LSU and because you are enthused to be here and taking on recruiting and NIL challenges and all that is appealing, not a burden to you. If he is just taking this job because it's too much money to turn down and he doesn't really want to do recruiting, he's not going to be a good coach. He's not going to be successful. So I hope y'all, those things kind of, intermingle. Let's see some comments here. I'm going to throw a couple comments as I talk about each of these names. Brady got out of college for a reason. Brady is not a head coach, doesn't want to be in college football. And that's the thing, I don't think he does. I honestly think he's an NFL guy. I mean, anytime he played for William and Mary, which is not like this powerhouse by any stretch of the imagination. Anytime you see a guy like that, a lot of times these guys care about the NFL way more than college football. Brady needs to stay in the NFL. Brady, no chance, hates recruiting. Let's see here. Chuck E says Marcus Freeman. I'm putting his comment up here because he said it a few times. I would be fine with it. Marcus Freeman's a great guy. But he's not coming, guys. Like -3% chance he comes. Like, of the guys I say would not take the job, I am the most confident he would not take the job. And I'll tell you why. Number one, he had the choice between LSU and Notre Dame when he took the DC position coming out of Cincinnati. He chose Notre Dame with less money. Okay. Number two, the northern footprint. Number three, we just heard Driscoll talk a good bit about that. Let's see here. Next name on the list, Lane Kiffin. And guys, look, if I had to make a prediction as to who would be the coach of LSU next, I would make it Lane Kiffin, but I'm taking the field over Lane Kiffin, if that makes sense to you. Like, Lane Kiffin, I know, has a fascination with LSU. And one thing that sticks out to me, Lane Kiffin is the one name that has come up for the last 3 job openings at LSU. In 2016, when Les Miles was fired, Lane Kiffin was being talked about more of as like a dark horse candidate. Remember, he was the coach of FAU, but there was a lot of people saying that, hey, look, you're talking about hiring Ed Ogeron. Lane Kiffin is an underling of Ed Ogeron. Just bring in Lane and O will stay around. Okay. You go back 4 years ago, and Lane Kiffin was right there as one of the top names. He was probably one of the betting favorites, and he's still here. And what does that tell me? How many of these other candidates for the LSU job that we've seen, Luke Fickell, Mel Tucker, Jimbo Fisher, as the years go on, they fade away into obscurity, right? Tons of them. No one's talking about hiring Mel Tucker right now. He's unemployed. Jimbo Fisher, unemployed, right? Look at Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. He's on the chopping block. So my point is that the longevity, the amount of time that he has remained a sexy candidate stands out to me. Stands out. guys, I have a sneaky feeling that this job search is going to begin and end with Lane Kiffin. That's just, if I were to bet, that's what I would throw it on. Obviously, a lot of other names. Let's get some comments on Lane Kiffin here. Lane will not come. He will not want to live here. I don't know about Kiffin. Still can't figure out how he was so weak at the O-line. Oh my gosh, Eric, man. Whew. You give me some PTSD here. By the way, it looks like Brad Davis will be retained, at least for this year. There's no way Brad Davis will be your O-line coach next year, but for the end of the year, he's going to be kept around. Honey Badger wants the coach. I'm sure he does, but hiring Tyrann Mathieu as your head football coach might be a big mistake. I understand the Coach Prime effect. I get it, but man, just bring him in as a GA. Let him work his way up. Let's see here. Lane is better for Florida. I don't think Lane wants the Florida job. I actually have some information on that. I don't think he's going to Florida. Lane will not live in Baton Rouge. Okay. Kiffin would fit like a glove from the YouTube acceptable username. Aaron Hornsby should have hired Kiffin years ago. I would predict this, that if Lane Kiffin would have done better than Brian Kelly if he got hired 4 years ago. I don't think that's a hot take, like even in the least bit. Think about Lane Kiffin in that offense with Jaden Daniels and Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors. And look, Lane Kiffin, I think when a coach has no X's and O's, he can help out with the X's and O's on defense. I think he would have had that defense not as bad as it was in 2023. Anyways, all right. Those are kind of the big names on the list. I'm going to get to some more. I am going to get to an ad break real quick. We're going to wrap out our sponsors, but it will be gone. It will be done before you know it, guys. So be right back. Just a second. Y'all stick around. While I'm on ad break, I want to hear your favorite name. Okay. In the comments, go ahead and tell me, if you had to pick someone, who would you pick? Okay. With that being said, I'll tell you who I'm picking every time. If I'm looking for a Genesis, I'm going to Genesis of Lafayette, the premier luxury dealership offering the finest cars and SUVs in the region. Coupled with the best service anywhere, Genesis of Lafayette has a huge inventory of new and certified pre-owned Genesis vehicles. For a truly first-class automotive experience, it's Genesis of Lafayette, 6600 Johnston Street. Here to exceed your expectations. Genesis of Lafayette. Shop us online at genesisoflafayette.com or call them 877-856-2961. Guys, please let them know that TigerBait sent you in. And guys, change the way you feel at Rejuvenate Medical. By creating a customizable treatment plans based on your goals, Rejuvenate can lead you to success. Visit rejuvenemedical.com for more.
I'm Dustin Gotro. I received testosterone replacement therapy from Rejuvenate. My very first shot, the next morning I woke up, looked in the mirror, I could feel the difference in my body. Go for a consult. You may not know how bad you feel until you start feeling good.
And guys, as LSU tries to rewire its program to wire itself for success, maybe you should get your home wired for success as well with the official electrical company of TigerBait.com. No matter how big or small your electrical needs may be, Dykes is wired for success. Need a brand new 10-story office building? We can wire that. 200 square foot warehouse you need built? We can wire that. Expanding your existing commercial building, we can wire that. Changing out a breaker, whole electrical panel, or just a receptacle in your home or office, we can wire that. Upgrading the old lighting in your home or office, guess what? We can wire that. Give them a call today at the number on your screen, 225-216-9180 for a free estimate on your home project. Make sure to let them know that TigerBait sent you in. And guys, if you can't think of something you need wired, go ask your wife. They're great. I promise she'll be like, oh yeah, the thing over there in the patio has been wrong for 2.5 years. Well, Dykes is here to take care of your project, big or small, guys. Guys, Bay's Oyster Bar has opened up. It is on 315 North Boulevard in downtown Baton Rouge. They're serving up the freshest farm-raised oysters from Garand Isle. No mud, no grit, just cream, delicious flavor. Not into oysters, swap in a boiled shrimp or try their turkey brie and bacon sandwich or even a roast beef po' boy, guys. They will be featuring a fully stocked bar complete with top-notch bourbon, whiskey, and craft beer selection, which you will need to get through this coaching search. Don't miss out on Baton Rouge's newest oyster spot, and make sure to let them know TigerBait sent you in. All right. I asked you, let's see if you can deliver here. I asked you to give me your top names. I put a poll out on Twitter, by the way. Just a few names. Lane Kiffin was the overwhelming favorite. I put him out there with Joe Brady, Kelvin Shepard, and John Summerall is who I put out there. Let's see here. All right, I'm trying to find out where to stop. We got a lot of comments. I don't know about Kiffin. Kiffin won't come. All right, hold up. All right, I'm starting to get to the ones I was at. Billy Napier scared the hell out of the Sunbelt coaches. That's a good point, man. We have to keep Blake Banker. Sean Kuhn, I will say this. LSU very likely will retain more of its coaching staff, particularly the LSU Louisiana Tie guys. Think Frank Wilson, think Corey Raymond. I think they're going to try to retain a bit of them because last time you sent them packing just to rehire them for more money 2 years later, which is probably the first of Brian Kelly's blunders. And by the way, they're probably going to try their best to get Tommy Moffitt back as well. Kiffin's daughter already lives in Baton Rouge, at least part-time. That's a good point. Lane and Malik Thomas is like Coach O with that 2019 offense. Dan Lanning is who Chad River wants, which, yes, I want Dan Lanning very badly too. Guys, I think Dan Lanning is locked in, okay? He has unlimited money at Oregon. I mean, Phil Knight is 90-something years old, and he's giving him a blank check and saying, go win a championship, my guy. That's exactly what I'm saying. Kelvin Shepard. He's a name on my list I like a lot. And I've talked to Detroit Lions people. They're super high on him. I'm not really seeing much buzz around that with non-LSU guys. In fact, I'm looking on the odds from Vegas right now. He's not even listed. But I love Kelvin Shepard. He's 36 years old, NFL DC. I think if LSU came knocking, he would come, and he would come affordably. Okay. And I think there's nothing wrong with going for the bright up-and-comer coordinator to take over a prestigious program. We've seen that a lot of times work out for the best. I mean, here's the deal. If you are coming to an elite program like LSU, right, you're not taking a lateral job move like that, given you're a highly successful individual. It's just almost never happens. And we saw it with LSU and Brian Kelly. And then as you peeled those layers away, you started to see, oh, there's a reason that's happening. And guess what? He's bamboozling you for millions of dollars on the process. Joe Brady says Timothy Powell. More and more, I like Brom. Kiffin, if not Eli Drinkwitz. Brent Key from Chuck E. Kellen Moore. Is that just to get him away from the Saints, though, Chuck Savant? Gruden would be interesting. I'll tell you this right out. It's not going to be John Gruden. I don't understand the fascination with John Gruden. I understand people watch him on TV. I understand he was a Super Bowl champion. Was he done to convince you that he can run a college football program in 2025? Kiffin is going to Baton Rouge with his daughter. Hey, maybe Whit Weeks can line that up for us. Maybe Whit Weeks recruits him here. David Groggins. Let's see here. Does anybody take into effect how... Nah, okay, come on, Robert Smith. I will say this. I talked to Tommy Moffitt about Baton Rouge back when I was an intern for him, or not him, but the SID a long time ago. And he talked about Miami and Tennessee and how he's had so many opportunities to go anywhere. And he was like, but you know what, guys? I stay here no matter who the coach is because I love Baton Rouge. I said, really? You like it more than Knoxville, Tennessee, which is considered a beautiful place to live, and Miami, which is a fun place? And he said, yeah, absolutely. So not a lot of times your opinion of a city, it doesn't align with the people who actually matter. Kelvin Shepherd. Let's see here. Nick Saban, which duh. I mean, if Nick Saban is mildly interested, you go for it. Fran Brown. Trying to figure out if Corey Simon's a Syracuse. Fran Brown's not having a good season. I would be very underwhelmed with Fran Brown. Can Tyrann be hired as an advisor during this transition to help Frank? Yeah, sure he could. I don't know. And I know Frank has a great relationship with Tyrann Mathieu. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if they're willing to do it. I'm sure Tyrann Mathieu might be shooting for higher ambitions, but I think you should bring in Tyrann Mathieu as an advisory role. He should be an analyst or something. And now analysts can actually help out on the field. I think if you're not bringing Tyrann Mathieu into your program in some capacities, you're missing the mark. But of course, you got to let the new coach make his decisions with that. That would be something that I would be concerned about if the new coach wasn't interested in that. Now, I'm not saying as DB coach either. I'm just saying offer him to come in as an analyst, something, whatever. Josh McDaniel or Kelvin Shepherd. Kelvin Shepherd would be a game changer. A lot of people are really high on him. By the way, LSU former players love Kelvin Shepherd. I'm having trouble finding anybody with negative things to say about Kelvin Shepherd, and he's doing a good job coordinating his defense, but he is raw. He is very raw. He does not have a ton of play calling experience. Let's see here. Dr. Butler put out a list. Someone was not happy with Dr. Butler. I don't see Dr. Butler's list, but anyways, let's see here. Toby Petrie, what happens if Frank Wilson wins out? First off, that would be impressive. I mean, impressive at a level that I can't describe. You have to go to Alabama, to Oklahoma, right? You have to beat Arkansas with a hot Bobby P and Western Kentucky. If he wins out, if he wins out, this team itself would have a very, very, very thin chance of actually making the college football playoff, believe it or not. Because you would have, essentially 2 elite road wins late in the season. And the committee, you could tell the committee takes into play changes to your team, right? They excluded an undefeated Florida State team from the college football playoff with the sole criteria being, hey, their quarterback's hurt, and we just kind of know they're not going to be very good. We just know. Their resume doesn't tell us anything close to that. We're going to put in a one-loss team of Alabama instead, but, I mean, their quarterback's hurt. Come on, guys. Come on. That's literally it. So that could work in reverse and say, hey, this team has been a whole new team under the interim coach. They're 9-3. Maybe they're the hot team, and we should play the hot hand. I don't think that happens. It'd be very highly unlikely, and that would be a very interesting decision. I don't think Frank Wilson's going to have a chance to win this job out. I just don't. I think they're looking for bigger ambitions. But yes, if he were to win out, it would be impossible not to. Great hypothetical to deal with. Jimmy Page says, beat Bama, guys. Frank Wilson was fired from UT, and this is a lot of why. And was going to be fired from McNeese State. He's below 500. Yes, some mean words coming out after that. Let's see here. Kiffin is a hot name now. Tom Herman was a hot name at one time. All right, Toby Petrie. But again, this is why the Lane Kiffin thing is fascinating to me. Tom Herman was so hot for the LSU job in 2016. By the time the Brian Kelly search was around, he'd already been fired from Texas, and he was a hot name for no one. Okay. Kiffin was a hot or intriguing name for all 3 job searches. And that to me stands out. The fact that he's still kicking, still around, still interesting, still froggy, 100% sticks out to me. It's why my gut feels the way it does. My gut could be wrong. It's been wrong a bit. Ooh, Kenny Dillingham from Jimmy Page. Now that's a guy I would wonder about fit. I'd wonder about experience. And obviously you would want to see a stronger close to this season to give him more of a padded resume. But yeah, that is a very interesting name. I love Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State. Anthony Kelly, love your work. Love your commentary, Preston. Great work. Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Ooh, Mike Scarborough with a comment here. Have to have a college degree to coach at LSU. Tyron needs to go back and get his degree. That's interesting. Boy, bring him in as a GA then, Mike. Like, perfect. Like, let's let him come enroll in school, get his degree, and while he's there, he can be an assistant coach. No path for Frank to be a head coach. No path. Let's see here. Cliff Kingsbury, that's Jackson Carter. I'm not necessarily interested in Cliff Kingsbury. We've kind of seen what he's capable of as a college coach. Let's see here. Brent Key, that's Georgia Tech he's talking about. That'd be an interesting one. Forgive me, Preston. I hate when Louisiana sports fans default to this guy from Nolens. He can clearly be elite. This mindset is why we will never. Yeah, there is a strong mindset of LSU fans of, hey, he's one of us. I like what I know. And it does hold the program back. It has always held the program back. And then held LSU back with the Ogeron hire. I thought was wrong, albeit that plaque hanging on the left side of my head wouldn't be there without Ed Ogeron. I didn't like the hire, and I thought that was a bad mindset that held us back. Again, I looked dumb, though, because he won a national championship, but I guess I was eventually, there. Graduate assistant, and it's a max of 2 years. That's what Mike Scarborough is saying about Tyron Matthew. Look, again, I think you should try to bring him in an off-the-field role of some sort. Let's see here. Dane Bergeron at LSU TigerBait is I don't even have one, Dane. I don't have a TigerBait hat. Mike, you need to be a little more generous with the TigerBait hats. But yeah, I'll get with him and see if we can get an answer. There's certainly some demand for him. All right, I'm going to continue going down this list of Vegas odds coach. And we'll see what we think. James Franklin 6-1. I think that is just pure rage bait. I understand he had an impressive showing on College Game Day. Guys, come on. You're not firing Brian Kelly to go with James Franklin. You're just not. I mean, they have a lot of the similar flaws. If you think Brian Kelly's bad in big games, that's like James Franklin's thing. Okay. Eli Drinkwitz. That's coach from Missouri. I think he's done a lot with a lot less than what a lot of these name brand programs have. I think that's a guy who would be affordable. I think it's a guy who could win and win good. And I think that I think it's very likely. I think that would be a very likely he would take the job. Jeff Brom, UL coach Jeff Brom, like him. We talked ad nauseum about him earlier. Good guy. Brent Key, Georgia Tech coach. Here's the deal with Brent Key. Yes, they're 8-0 this year. Yes, he's done a good job. He's also a 500 coach outside of that. Now, he's also has a reputation for winning the big games, but 6-6 in the ACC, even at a school like Georgia Tech, I don't know that that's super appealing. But this year, obviously, he's done a great job. I don't know that one good year at an ACC school and then a bunch of 500 seasons is enough to land a job like LSU. That's ultimately my opinion. Jimbo Fisher, come on, that's rage bait. What are we talking about? He's not coming. Come on, guys. Could you imagine the fan meltdown if they brought in Jimbo flipping Fisher? That's 18-1 odds. Clark Lee, that's an interesting one. I like Clark Lee. He's done a great job at Vanderbilt, and he will have infinitely more resources at LSU. Let's see here. Preston, as a Notre Dame fan, was happy to see Kelly leave. I'd be devastated to see LSU get Freeman. Freeman is truly a great coach whose players love him. Well, we talked about that a lot It's not happening. But yeah, I know Freeman would be fine. I'd be fine with Freeman as a head coach. He's done a really good job there at Notre Dame. Let's see here. Going down the list here. Marcus Freeman, 25-1 is after Clark Willie again. Never going to happen. Urban Meyer, 25-1. Again, a joke. Rhett Lashley. I don't even know if he would take the job. Rhett Lashley loves SMU. Loves it there. John Gruden, 40-1. Guys, I mean, I don't even want to spend any time. These are such jokes. Kenny Dillingham, 40-1. That one's got some legs to it. That one's interesting. First off, LSU hasn't contacted anybody about the job yet. I assure you, they are just now getting their process. They're probably just figuring out who are they even going to let make the official decision. And I guess that ultimately is going to be Jeff Landry, but they're just beginning the process of the coaching search. I promise you. In fact, they might even still be focused on building the coaching staff for the rest of the season right now, and maybe shifting their focus to the search committee tomorrow. Lincoln Riley, again, he's been very disappointing at USC. I think that ship has sailed. I think there's probably 30, 40 names that would be more enticing than Lincoln Riley at that point. And by the way, I was super high on Lincoln Riley 4 years ago. Dabo Sweeney, again, would he even accept it? I don't think so. And I don't know that you would want Dabo Sweeney because he's just too archaic and too old school, has not embraced NIL or portal at all. And I don't think that's going to cut it in this year and age. Dan Mullen, I think he's pretty set there at UNLV. Dan Mullen's interesting, but it's not going to happen. Dan Lanning, 66-1. Again, a guy, if you can get him, yeah, throw the bank at him. He's an excellent coach. But he's got unlimited resources at Oregon. He's not coming. I don't think so. Matt Campbell, 75-1, an interesting name. Of course, he's winning at a decent level, but Iowa State is a very, very, very tough place to win. I just don't really see that being the guy. Again, I think that the LSU brass and boosters, if you're rolling out a Matt Campbell, they're going to be like, dude, what the hell, Matt Campbell? I think that's why it doesn't happen. And Nick Saban at 75-1, which, sure, shoot him an email and say, hey, Jimmy, can you get Miss Terry on the phone and let him say no? If for any reason he's interested at all, which, by the way, he wouldn't be like a situation where you're going to have to waste time because he's going to play with his employer and try to get more money. He doesn't have an employer right now. I mean, I guess he has ESPN, but, I mean, you're not negotiating against ESPN for this job. Sure, let him say no, but he will say no. He will. It's not a serious proposition there. Preston, you were just high if you were high on Lincoln. Maybe I was, man, but I thought Brian Kelly was a good coach and was going to win big here. So I guess I really wasn't doing a very good job 4 years ago talking about who to hire for LSU. Maybe I'll do a better job on this coaching search. Y'all better pray to God they are not dumb enough to fire Kelly without a real plan to have some idea if Saban or Kiffin is going to come home. And didn't just make an emotional decision with no plan. Damon Blackburn, I really wish LSU had the administrative organization and support to convince me that it wasn't an emotional decision. In fact, the way I'm hearing the way it went down with Brian Kelly, the way it's been reported is essentially Woodward met with Kelly early in the morning Sunday to discuss changes needed to this team. He was going to have to let go of his offensive coordinator, Joe Sloan, and Brian Kelly essentially refuted that. He refused to do it. And they said, all right, screw you. You're out of here then, because if you're not going to make changes, we're done. Right. And that in and of itself is inherently a bit of a, seems like to go in to fire one person and end up firing another is just a wild predicament that highly suggests emotions may have been involved. Let's see here. Also, I think there was something seared into the brains of LSU administrators. I was on the field after the game, and the Aggie fan takeover starting late in the third quarter, their chants, their yells with no crowd opposition is seared into anybody who loves this university's mind. I posted the video of the Aggie yell, and it really felt like, I put the caption, Baton Rouge has fallen. It really felt like the fall of an empire, because you were being invaded by foreigners and taken over with no defense. And then you sit there and you look at Brian Kelly and the money and the resources he's been given to prevent that from happening. Then you're looking at the disrespectful one-liners that A&M is throwing at you. Mike Elko, reporter, asked him, I think it was Sam Kahn, asked him, Brian Kelly's 20-1 at night in Tiger Stadium. And he immediately responds, 20-2. Elko hates Brian Kelly. He was a DC for Brian Kelly, and he wanted to run that flipping score up, man. Then quarterback Marshall Reed, he had a quote that was kind of taken out of context, where basically they just kind of snipped apart where he said Death Valley was kind of underwhelming. What he meant was an 11 a.m. kickoff at Tiger Stadium was disappointing compared to what night games at Tiger Stadium are, right? Well, he addressed that. He said, well, y'all warped the quote and said it was, disappointing. Well, I guess it was. They were allowed to do this with no opposition because your life and soul was sucked out of your program. Your fans abandoned the team. And by the way, you had empty seats for a top 3 matchup with a 15% chance of rain. 15% chance of rain left about 5,000 empty seats for this game. And the enthusiasm and excitement going into that game were just low. This fan base is a pit bull who had been neutered. And I think that all of these things do evoke an emotional response. So if you're going to ask about an emotional response, there you go. Dane Bergeron says Deion Sanders. That is not a real option. Fire 3449 says hit the like button. Boy, I think this might be the first time where you made that comment 90 minutes apart. But here we are. I told y'all I was going to go late, guys. I think y'all deserve more content for what y'all have been through. So I'm here for you on that. Let's see here. John Smith says fire Scott Woodward. We will see on that. We will see. Is baseball and women's basketball enough to save his hide for the contract he gave Brian Kelly? We will see. Let's see here. YouTube acceptable name. Seen people saying rehire Coach O. That is a hilarious. It will not happen. The sheer optics alone, firing the man to bring him back. Here's a hot take though. Let's say you hire Lane Kiffin. I would say that it's not outside the realm of possibility that you say, hey, Lane, y'all are great friends. Come on back as D-line coach and recruiting coordinator. There's precedent for that, by the way. Bobby Petrino was fired from Arkansas unceremoniously, and he is now their interim head coach after serving as their OC. Is the blood that bad? Now, I do know Ogeron on his way out the door MF'd a few people, right? But you know what? I had some choice words for Brian Driscoll, and here we are 4 years later. We're able to smooth it over, right? Maybe there's that, hey, man, after some years, man, let's put water under a bridge. That would be the only scenario I see him coming back at all, but he's not coming back as your head coach. Let's see here. Let's see here. Fire 3449. I'm actually shocked anybody wants to talk about an actual football team, but I did get a comment. So does Nuss start at Bama? Yeah. Oh yeah, he's going to start at Bama. Number one, I still think he gives you the best chance to win. I wouldn't be surprised if Frank wants to draw up some wrinkles out there, like maybe have a package for Michael Van Buren and goal lines or whatever, right? But ultimately, yes, it will be Nuss. He's your fifth-year senior. He stuck it out with you. He's your best quarterback on this team. And a lot of people have been speculating, does Nuss opt out? Why would Nuss opt out? That'd be suicide for his draft stock. Nuss needs to perform in these last 4 games really badly for any chance at an NFL stock rise. So, because he's basically played himself into a fringe will he be drafted guy. LSU will make it up along as they go. It's the LSU way, Dane. That's 100% true, man. That is the LSU way of doing things. LSU is a program with a rich history, with one of 3 programs with 3 or more championships in this BCS playoff area, in spite of their administrative incompetence. In spite of they shoot themselves in the foot, but because you can look at all these championship teams that you've seen, homegrown talent, baby. How far did you have to go to get Justin Jefferson? Jamar Chase? Yeah, I mean, these guys just grow on trees around here, man. Look at the defenses from those 2 championships before. TigerBait's first edition of LSU Coaching Hot Board is now posted on TigerBait.com. Check it out after the show ends. Guys, absolutely, you should check it out. We're going to keep that rocking and rolling all season long. By the way, one thing I want to point out about the coach, if you haven't subscribed to the TigerBait Premium Board, now's your time. You can try it for $1, guys. I would just go ahead and do the annual because it'll be worth your $100 for the next 12 months. I predict this coaching search will have more leaks and more information than the one we saw 4 years ago. And why is that? Well, the decision is no longer going to be solely Scott Woodward's. Last time Scott Woodward, it was his decision and his decision alone, and he kept a tight lip until the very end. I think he went for Lincoln Riley. He swung, he missed, and then he went for Brian Kelly. Didn't care what the number was, threw it his way, and that was that. He kept his lips sealed. I don't know that the people in charge now are going to be doing that. I think there's a lot of loose-lipped people, a lot of egos, a lot of people who like to go out and grandstand and get attention for themselves in charge of the decision at this point. Let's see here. Blake Ruffino for AD. How about that, man? He would probably do it for 10% of Woodward's pay. He'd probably do it for free. He would pay LSU to be their AD. Phil Knight is worth $30 billion. Todd Graves is worth $22 billion, and Shaq is worth $500 billion. Good point, but I don't know that Todd Graves. First off, Todd Graves, Georgia alum. Yes, he's very involved with LSU. Todd Graves, Phil Knight also has a I don't care, I'm about to die $33 billion, and a lot more of his $33 billion is liquid, by the way, as well. Whereas Todd Graves is very much so invested in his Cane's business stores. It's just different, man. It's just different. Let's see here. If LSU lost 42-41 in a shutout, does BK? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't. Obviously, no way to prove it, but no, I don't think he gets fired. Chad Savant, would Dave Aranda be a good hire? No, he wouldn't. No, he hasn't really won at a high level at Baylor. In fact, he's been on the Baylor hot seat for a while. If he was losing like that at a lot of programs, he would have already been fired. I'd love to see him as DC, though. Let's see here. I'd like the MU code. I'm trying to think MU. Maybe UM, Miami? Anyways. Then Kiffin, but I'd offer Saban $20 million, which he can make with incentives. The fact that Saban would entertain an incentive-based contract. No, not even at all. Let's see here. John Sibley Butler, he can't recruit. No, he can't recruit at Baylor, but certainly he can recruit well enough to win more than, 5 to 6 games. I mean, Baylor is a place that won big with Art Briles. Like, Baylor is not a place where you're just perennial 3 to 4 win team. Not at all. King Clover. And this is T-Bob Abear reporting, and I actually don't know if he was joking or if this was actual real information. After 400 rounds, how is Brian Kelly still so bad at golf and average score? Here's the thing. If that audit were real, when you go, is the Baton Rouge Country Club different than all the golf courses I've been on where you just you drink a beer and you write your own score down and, is he turning in his scorecards? Who's tracking that? Oh, Missouri. I'm sorry, Kenny. I've never heard Missouri called that. I probably should have known that. Yeah, I like Drinkwitz a lot. Drinkwitz, I would argue, top 3-4 odds getting the job. I mean, he's right up there with. I would. First off, I'd say he's more likely to accept if offered than a guy like Lane Kiffin. But I think if Lane Kiffin or someone like that were to move on, I would say they'd probably move on to Drink pretty quickly, and I like that one a lot. Sonny Dykes does well everywhere he goes. Maybe not a fit. Sonny Dykes was the head coach with Louisiana Tech. Okay, I'll throw that one right out there. So he definitely knows Southern Arkansas very well, but in terms of Louisiana, we'll see. Yeah, if LSU fans are not showing up, period, for a top 5 team matchup and the rest are leaving third quarter, LSU has a real serious problem. If nobody cares, here's the deal, Damon Blackburn. That was a problem created by a soulless head coach. That is a problem created. And by the way, you're also seeing clips of your star players on 4th and 1 sitting there with their hands on the hips instead of going out there and making a flipping play. So no, I don't think I think it's more than LSU. I think it was a problem with what the soul being sucked at, the lifelessness of the franchise, right? Brandon Reese says we need a coach who can recruit quarterbacks because we're lacking depth the next year. Boy, whoever this coach is got to find a flipping quarterback, man. I mean, you're going to have to go in and do what Brian Kelly did and find Jaden Daniels. Absolutely. You're going to have to go get a high-dollar quarterback because I don't know that Michael Van Buren or Colin Hurley are ready for that. Certainly not to win at the level that LSU fans are going to want to win. You have to make Kiffin tell you no before anybody else, in my opinion. His results at Ole Miss speak for itself. Let's see here. Travis Gilbo says he took his son to his first game Saturday. Well, he got to witness history, Travis. The final game of the Brian Kelly era. Well, guys, I appreciate all y'all for watching. God, what a week this has been. And I appreciate everybody who's supported the channel for the last 72 hours. I think we've probably had more views on our live shows in the last 72 hours than we've probably ever had. So all that is just great. We will continue moving on. We will be talking about coaches, giving you updated information. Please make sure to subscribe to the TigerBait Premium Board. That's where we're going to put our information the quickest, as soon as possible as we get it. We'll keep you posted with a lot of names, analysis, all that stuff. Mike and Buddy will be back Wednesday at 6 p.m. There's no post-game show this weekend because there's no game this weekend. But y'all make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that bell. We will be back after the Alabama game in 2 weeks. And, of course, next Monday at 6 p.m., I'll be right here. So we continue to grow our YouTube channel. We continue to grow our Facebook page. You hadn't hit that subscribe button, y'all go ahead and do so. I appreciate every one of y'all. Y'all have a great night. Thank you, guys.